Good morning. I really appreciate all of you coming out this morning on a cold April day. Vive is at a critical juncture, and because of the immigration policies, there is a need, and so that's why we brought you together today. I think it was in 1793 that the governor of Ontario, or maybe it was the Prime Minister of Canada, I'm not sure, but made this law, and it said that any enslaved person, when they crossed into Canada, would be free. And that started a process over the next 70 years that today is known as the Underground Railroad, where enslaved African American folks from the South found their way eventually up north, and many of them, because of the geopolitical significance of Buffalo, where we were stationed right across the Niagara River from Canada, they made their way through Buffalo and into Canada, into freedom. And what we're facing today is not the same. I mean, what happened to the enslaved people of this country back in the 1800s is not what's happening today. But it is true that in the 20th century, because of Buffalo's location, we have been part of this sort of new Underground Railroad, where folks who are fleeing all kinds of injustice, persecution, basically people leave because they have no choice. They're leaving to save their lives. They're leaving to save their families. They're leaving for a safe place, a safe home, whether it's in Congo or in Afghanistan or Ukraine or places like Haiti or Honduras or Guatemala, Peru. People are leaving, and they're coming through Buffalo, and many of them were looking for a safe place, a safe home in Canada. What happened a couple weeks ago when the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of Canada sat down, and when they made that decision to close the borders, to close off the places where people were crossing to freedom, like Roxham Road, that was a significant decision. And as a result of that decision, Vive is overflowing today. Last night we had 150 people in this facility, and that's way more than we should have. And every day, folks are coming in. And what we're facing is not unique. It's not unique to Vive. This is what folks in Buffalo and around this country are dealing with in many cities, many places. And so we are calling you together today really to first to let you know about that we have a need, that we're overwhelmed in trying to take care of folks in a good way, in a way that honors their humanity. We have a need for more beds, for places to put people outside that because we're full here. We have a need for transportation. We have a need for food. You know, the community in Buffalo has always risen to the occasion, places like Jericho Road and others. But I think the other thing I wanted to really make a point of today at this time is to say that I think it's more than time for the city, for the county, for the state, and for the federal government to do their part to help to come around and rally around this need that really is growing and growing across our city and our state and our country. This is not something that just the non-for-profits or good-hearted people in our community can fix. We need resources. We need our government to be a part of this solution. And so one of the things we're asking for today is for our local, our state, and our federal government to do their fair share. I just want to introduce Jennifer Connor, who's with the Families for Migrants, Justice for Migrants, and then Jenny Rizzo, who's the Executive Director of International Institute and is one of our faithful partners as we do this work here at Vive. And then Matt Tice will finish, and he's the Director of Vive and is really the guy on the ground that leads our team here to do this really, really challenging work. And then we'll take some time for questions. Thank you.
I'm going to, yes, thank you. Hello, my name is Jennifer Connor. I'm the Executive Director for Justice for Migrant Families. We're a grassroots organization in Buffalo that does direct support, advocacy, and organizing for and with people impacted by immigration enforcement and policy. And that is why we're here today. We are in the aftermath of the closure at Roxham Road, which closed at midnight on March 24th. And we are seeing the aftermath, and we are going to continue to see the aftermath of what it looks like when people who have had migration plans of seeking safety for themselves and their families, plans of 3 months, of 6 months, of a year, and even longer, who are still en route today to this point, what it looks like when those plans are abruptly changed, when the door is closed. This is our reality. Migration is a global reality, and it is our local reality. And as Dr. Glick highlighted, Buffalo, it is part of Buffalo's story as being a point on the path to freedom. We are in the midst of holy days for many in our community. We are in the Easter season. We are in Ramadan. And Passover began last night, also a liberation holiday. And so Buffalo, in recognition of itself being on the path to freedom, I ask you, who are we going to be in this moment? How are we going to answer this call? We have a call for you today. We are issuing a call for help. We are issuing a call for our community to respond and step up and support people whose plans have been abruptly and devastatingly impacted. We are asking our elected officials, our federal officials, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, our local officials, our governor, to advocate to provide funding for emergency response and also to provide long-term planning for policies and programs that we know work. And additionally, we have so much expertise in Buffalo. So I stand here with Vive La Casa, with Jericho Road, here as Justice for Migrant Families, and we have so much knowledge, and also with our community leaders here in Buffalo of immigrants who have settled here, who have made this home. So to our government leaders, you don't need to make this up. Come and talk to us. Ask us what is needed. We can tell you. So in Buffalo, I have seen what it looks like when our community responds. Justice for Migrant Families has amazing volunteers who are on call to respond to people who are migrating to or through Buffalo, who meet those people with a radical welcome, who help people get their feet on the ground. And we do temporary housing, emergency planning, rapid response, and help people get oriented and make a plan. So again, I want to say the people we are talking about today who are migrating, these are people with plans. Our federal government abruptly and without adequate planning closed our border. And so before I go, I also want to issue just sort of a warning bell that we have another choice in front of us, and that is, are we going to penalize, police, detain, and deport people who are in this situation? Is that our plan? Or do we plan to support, recognize their humanity, put those funds into helping people be welcomed, oriented, get their feet on the ground, and go to where they can be in community with us, and where they make our communities richer and better? So again, I call on our elected leaders, I call on our community to respond to this moment. I believe that we can do this in a way that affirms the dignity and humanity of all of the people who are migrating to and through Buffalo. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer Rizzo-Choi. I'm the Executive Director of the International Institute. The Institute has been a service partner for many years with Jericho Road Community Health Center and of course the Vive shelter, where we often refer clients and take clients from. And for over 100 years, the Institute has been a beacon to immigrants and refugees who see America as a beacon of hope. The immigrants that Vive is serving are human beings who are in need of shelter. It's an immediate need, and it needs to be addressed. And we really must decide as a community today, are we going to help these men, women, and children, or are we going to turn our collective backs on them and leave them to fend for themselves? It's really a poignant question to consider at a time of the year when the world's 3 major religions are holding their most important and holy holidays. This is the time to help. This is the time for donors and politicians and community members and leaders to step up and help. There's an immediate need for shelter, and Vive is asking for your help. We stand with Vive and with Jericho Road to support them in their plea. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Matt Tice. I'm the director of Vive Shelter here. We are a program of Jericho Road Community Health Center. Asylum seekers come here to Buffalo not only because we are at the border of the US and Canada, but because of our posture as the city of good neighbors. Vive has helped thousands of people here with shelter and legal assistance for over the 40 years that we've operated. Over 2,000 people passed through Vive on their way to Canada last year alone. Sadly, with the closure of places like Roxham Road, without any renegotiated alternative support for asylum seekers, we are only going to see more desperation. Since March 24th, calls and requests for help at Vive have increased by 400%. People are scared. People know because they show up, we know because they show up here at our doorstep. They come here following upheaval in Haiti, Afghanistan, and Ukraine. Mothers with children from Peru, Venezuela, and Ethiopia come here because violence and deadly threats drove them from their homes. The world comes here to Buffalo for help. Unfortunately, with the closure of Roxham Road in northern New York and more limited prospects for people reaching asylum in the US or Canada, we're overwhelmed. This is a big impact locally, especially here at our shelter. Families seeking asylum will seek barrier after barrier finding a place to sleep. Where before, border policies helped ensure that they could find the right opportunity for their family. Now those things are more limited. People will need to stay in shelter longer, and frankly, we've run out of space. We urge local, state, and federal governments to do their part. We need funds for organizations like Vive here in Buffalo. We need others around the US to be supported in their hard work to stand in the gap for asylum seekers. Honestly, I can count on one hand the organizations who do this work on this scale. We do need donations and funding to continue to support people. We're calling on the community to help us not only move into a new supportive space, but also ways to pay for this additional housing to help ensure that people have a safe place to be. What we do is far too rare, and the need is far too great. So with that, I think we were going to do some questions.
Thank you, everyone. I'd be happy for us to take questions, so just go ahead.
Dr. Glick, what is the pathway now for someone who's here to get to Canada? What's changed?
I'm going to let Matt take that.
So, according to what's called the Safe Third Country Act, you are only able to go if you qualify for certain exceptions. So if you have a family member, if you have a qualifying visa. This is very limiting. Previously, you could initiate a refugee claim at a place like Roxham Road. Anybody could go to that location. Now, it's only if somebody else has that legal status in Canada.
State budget is in negotiation right now. They have a hard time passing stuff, so that's just for implications after usually April 1st, but now whenever the budget passes. Is there anything in there right now for you? Is there anything you're trying to get in there before they finalize?
So what we understand is there's a significant amount of money up to $1 billion that is in the budget that is supposed to go for organizations and localities, cities. New York City probably will get a lot of it, to help with asylum seekers that are coming in. We don't have any line on that budget, but we are hoping that that will pass. I think that will make a difference, hopefully, for organizations like Jericho Road and others that do this work. But we don't have the details yet, and obviously it hasn't passed yet. Yeah.
And additionally, I mean, Vive La Casa does provide in-house legal services for people, and there is, we do need funding in the state budget for access to representation, and that would really support a lot of these people.
You indicated that you're overflowing with people. What's the capacity, and what do you do when you really don't, even in your current state, when you don't have enough beds, you don't have enough room? Where do people, do you turn people away? Do you say you go here? What do you do?
I'm going to let Matt answer that. I would say all of the above to a certain extent, and this is something not new for us. We've been dealing with this for the last 8 years since we took over Vive.
We do our very best to make sure that whoever shows up at our door has a safe place to be. We've already seen, especially with our partners like Justice for Migrant Families, they've helped us make sure that we have other safe places to place someone, but not everybody can stay here. We just don't have enough room. We don't have enough beds. And we are well beyond our capacity now. We've started to look at both additional partners. We've started to look at faith communities and seeing whether or not they could open up space for our folks. But we have to be really creative at this point to find other additional solutions.
What is the capacity under normal circumstances, if there are ever normal circumstances?
We're 120 is our current capacity. Yeah.
150 now?
Correct, and we have placed many people out in the community too, so we anticipate that we will see more and more people.
Do you have any ability to expedite the second location that you're working on right now to get people in there more quickly?
Well, as you guys know, because you've been at these events before, we have a capital campaign that's ongoing to get a new home for Vive. This building is pretty beat up. It's been around for a long time. We're really grateful the community has stepped up and is continuing to step up, and that capital campaign is ongoing. We are presently doing construction at 1500 Main Street, so it's a work zone now. It's not available for folks right now. Our hope is to be in there by August.
Can I kind of rephrase the question, I guess? Would you use this location still to house people once you get the new location open, considering that you have capacity?
Well, I mean, we definitely plan to use this building in some way to benefit the community. Whether or not it means that we have 2 shelters for asylum seekers, that will be a step of faith. But we have always tried to lead Jericho Road in a way to go to the place where the most vulnerable are. And so if that's what we have to do, we'll consider it. We also have some other ideas we could use this building for. Either way, it's going to take a lot of work to get this building up to speed. Any other questions? Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. We're available if anyone else wants to talk to us personally on the side.